Heat fans, would y'all want Paul George? Or I guess would have wanted Paul George? I don't know, because it's very possible that by the time you're watching this video, he's already off the market. So I just finished exporting this video and having it ready to schedule upload at 9 a.m. And now Woj wants to drop the news that he's a 76er officially. But still watch the video because I explain why the Miami Heat absolutely dodged the bullet, and I'm not scared of the 76ers, but enjoy the video. Because one of two things is going to happen. Either this whole Paul George saga is going to drag out and Heat fans are going to be begging to sign him via sign and trade, or Paul George is going to go to the 76ers pretty quick like we all expect, and Heat fans are going to be mad that the Heat didn't convince him to come here via sign and trade. So I guess a better question is, do you like Paul George on the Heat in general? Because if so, I can do what Paul George can do. Only difference is I airballed in a regular season game and Paul George hit all backboard in a playoff game.
George, way off. Hits the side of the backboard.
No, but seriously, my dumbass took a heat check 3 to start the game with no warm-up. I really deserve to airball. But meanwhile, Paul George is a habitual playoff choker. Now, I am a notorious and acknowledged Paul George hater. Maybe it has something to do with this shirt I'm wearing right here, but
here comes George, got the step.
But truthfully, my disdain for Paul George started when he gave himself the nickname Playoff Pete after scoring 36 points in Game 1 versus the Utah Jazz. I found the article that describes the whole lore, and it explains that George was asked about shifting his responsibilities to guarding Donovan Mitchell. He tilted his head, grinned, and in his smooth baritone delivered a quip that has followed him since. Y'all ain't met Playoff P yet, huh? Well, let me tell y'all what happened directly after Paul George made that quote. You know, I'll read it right from the article. This is how Game 2 went. With an expectation now set, Game 2 didn't go as well for Playoff Pete. He finished with 18 points on 6 of 21 shooting and 0 of 5 shooting in the fourth quarter. So what does that tell you about Playoff Pete? You can call him Way Off Pete, Pandemic Pete. I don't care.
Excuse me, it doesn't look like you're subscribed yet. Can you go ahead and fix that for me? No, but for real, liking the video, sharing, subscribing, doing all that good stuff, it really does help me out a lot, so I greatly appreciate it. Now let's get back to the video.
Either way, I don't think he's a great basketball player, but I want to be unbiased here. So what I did is I went back to all of his playoff logs and I looked at the game-clinching game for his teams, and I wanted to see how he performed, whether they win or whether they lost. So I want to start in this very series versus the Utah Jazz, in which they lost in 6 games. And in Game 6, he shot 2 of 16, 0 of 6 from 3, with 5 points and 6 turnovers. Now let's move on to the very next postseason, which was against the Portland Trail Blazers, in which they of course lost in 5 games. Now in that Game 5, Paul George was very good. He had 36 points. But we know how that game ended for Paul George on the most critical possession.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bad shot.
So fast forward to the next postseason in round 1 versus the Dallas Mavericks, where the Clippers did win in 6 games. But in that Game 6, Paul George shot 31% and only had 15 points. And then you go to the round 2, which was versus the Denver Nuggets. It went to 7 games, and in the all-deciding Game 7, Paul George shot 25% for 10 points and 5 turnovers. So let's go ahead and fast forward to the next year. Again, round 1 versus Dallas, and it went all the way to Game 7, which the Clippers won. But Paul George shot 5 of 15. We can go to the second round now versus Utah, also a game that the Clippers won. And Paul George shot 10 of 24 with the W, probably his best closeout game yet. But let's go to the final series of that postseason for him. Of course, it was the Western Conference Finals, where they would get blown out at home in Game 6, in which Paul George shot 6 of 15, which is not terrible. But let's not forget what Paul George did in Game 2 to put them in an 0-2 deficit to begin with.
Missed another.
So now, let's fast forward a few years in which Paul George was hurt in the postseason, and let's talk about his last and most recent playoff series, which of course was versus the Dallas Mavericks, and they lost in 6 games. Now, mind you, it was a 2-2 series. It was anybody's series for the taking. But in those final 2 games, games 5 and 6, in which of course the Clippers lost, Paul George shot a combined 32% from the field and 25% from 3, only averaging 16 points in the final 2 games of that series. So I hope that Paul George does in fact go to the 76ers, because all that team did is trade one habitual playoff choker in James Harden for a bigger one in Paul George. But Heat fans, that's why I'm making this video. Let me know, am I tripping? Should I want Paul George? Should I want him on this team for his scoring versatility and on-ball defense? Because trust me, I get all the things that he brings to the table in the regular season. But come postseason, that's not a guy that I trust or want on my team, or that I want to pay all of that money, because he's commanding a 4-year, $212 million max extension. And that's not something I feel comfortable giving him. What would that even look like if it was to be a sign and trade with the Miami Heat? I think maybe something like this. Of course, it'd be a sign and trade for that 4 years, 212 that I was talking about. It would average about $53 million a year, which Fanspo doesn't actually let you type in. That's why it says 50. But just play along with me here. The Heat would be sending over Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and 2 first-round picks. I do believe that 2031 is now available since they made their pick in the 2024 draft. Is this something you would do if you're the Miami Heat? I certainly think the Clippers probably would, right? I think they would rather have Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson with the 2 picks instead of losing Paul George for nothing. But maybe they don't, because maybe they don't value Tyler Hero and don't want that long-term money that he brings on. Now, I think the Clippers could probably use him, right? They're trying to trade Russell Westbrook, so they will need some more guard help. Obviously, they'll need some more scoring with Paul George leaving. They just re-signed James Harden, who's going to be their point guard for the next 3 seasons. And I think him and a guy like Duncan Robinson can have a nice 2-man game. So I do think that if there was any possibility of the Heat getting Paul George, it would be this. They would first have to recruit Paul George to come to Miami, and then obviously the Clippers would have incentive to want to do a sign and trade, so they do get some sort of assets in return. I don't know if this is enough assets. Would they be asking for Jaime Jaquez as well? Maybe, maybe not. I'd like to believe that a lot of Heat fans wouldn't agree to send Jaime Jaquez over, just because Paul George is 34, mind you. So it's not just he'd be making a lot of money. It's that he'd be doing it at 38 years old when his contract is all said and done. And we know Heat fans, including myself, are already concerned about giving Jimmy Butler that money when he's 38 years old. Now, you might want the Heat to tie that up into 2 38-year-olds. I just can't justify that. But let me know what y'all think down below. Do you think I'm tripping by not wanting Paul George on the Miami Heat? Do you absolutely want him here? Let me know down in the comments below. I will be reading everybody's comment, and I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all have to say. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, because it does help me out a lot, and I'm on the grind to hit 5K subs by the start of next season. We're currently less than 300 away, which is crazy. The support has been awesome since the draft. The growth has been crazy, and it's dope, bro, because I love the community that we're building over here. So if you are new or returning, hit that subscribe button, because I got fire content coming out all off season. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.